first part of the YouTube. So YouTube is great because once I start broadcasting, it's recording. Aloha, everybody. This is Stuart Yoshida, host of the OokTown Podcast, where we talk about all things ukulele. Welcome to episode 81. We have some wonderful returning guests. And before I bring them on, I want to give just a couple shout outs. First of all, to my co-host, Doug, who I always seem to forget to introduce anyway. But here, I'm remembering you right now, Doug, just for you. Hope you're having a great time. Oops, should put my Doug, hope you're having a good time over at the Denver County Fair. He may join us. So if you see someone pop in, that might be Doug. And the second shout out, I just wanted to actually we'll do a combined shout out and introduction. Shout out to the Grand Northern Ukulele Festival. It won the Duke of York Community Initiative Award, and we talked to Mary Agnes last time, and I think she was about to go to the award, so I think we can get like the how it was. So why don't we welcome Mary Agnes Krell, one of the organizers of GNUF. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks. Hi.
And I can't remember if you had been to the award or not. And then we can also talk about like that the GNUF has also won the Epic Award for Voluntary Arts in 2018 and the Queen's Award, which is cool. I don't know. Did you guys get to meet the Queen Mother on that one?
We got to go to the palace.
No kidding.
We got to go to the garden party at the palace. So you're kind of near the royal family, but you don't really get to meet them.
Oh, good enough. I mean, you're close to them. Well, that's cool. Yeah. Well, congratulations. All right, so let's talk about that in a second. But I want to bring on Gerald Ross. You just see his face. He's not using the camera today. Gerald Ross, you haven't been on in a while. Welcome back.
Thank you. I don't own a camera, Stuart. I don't own a camera that works with my computer. I've got
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious.
I thought your son got you one. Or you? Okay.
Oh yeah, but he got me one like 10 years ago, and if I use that, you guys would laugh at me because it's such old technology.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll consider here at the OokTown Podcast. I have a recommendation. It's kind of an old school one, but I still, if you're looking for one,
you really want to look at me. You really want to see my mouth move.
I do. There's something, I'm telling you, since we started these video podcasts, it's been like another dimension. I don't know what it is, because I can see Mary Agnes waving at us and smiling. And you're right. No, there's something about that.
Okay. So if I do get a camera, when I talk, will I be watching myself talk? Because I don't want to watch myself talk.
You don't have to, because what you can do is you can minimize it. You don't have to watch the screen. What you won't see is whether or not you're in the center of the screen, because right. I'm not very good at this, because, I'm like, wandering off, and I'm not looking at the camera sometimes,
I just, it's like sitting in front of a mirror in a restaurant.
Right. Yes.
I don't want to watch myself either.
I'm afraid that's just part of the gig for me. Yeah, okay. I know. I understand. No, I didn't. I was very hesitant about that too. Getting myself on camera and all, but whatever. I guess it gives me a chance to wear shirts like this, right?
Nice.
Hawaii 5-0. Hey, so I want to talk about the GNUF Awards, but before we do, let us remember what happened 50 years ago today, or 50 years ago yesterday. Do you guys remember?
Woodstock.
What? Thank you, Gerald. Almost. It was almost as trippy as Woodstock. It was the landing on the moon. Come on.
Oh.
Yeah, 50th anniversary of the landing on the moon. If you haven't seen Apollo 11, that documentary, I don't think Gerald has. Otherwise, he would have known this answer. Mary Agnes, did you see the documentary?
We watched it yesterday, so we were watching it in real time when they landed on the moon.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. No, that was a good day. I actually rewatched it yesterday also in honor of the 50th. That film is like, where did they get some of that footage? It was like, this looks like a movie was made. You know what I mean? Did you have that impression or not?
Yeah. So Rob, my husband, is really into kind of astronomy and the whole and knows a lot about the NASA archives. And NASA has filmed every mission, and they had
Yeah.
really high end cameras, so that you hear them
Yeah.
talk about like the Hasselblad that they had.
Yeah.
And something I didn't know. One of the things is there's almost no pictures of Lance Armstrong
Or
on not Lance, sorry, Neil Armstrong.
Neil. I know everyone says that.
Goodness. But there's almost no pictures of Neil Armstrong on the
Yes.
moon because he hogged the camera.
Yes, he was taking all the pictures. Yes,
Yeah.
they mentioned that a bit. Yeah, but we mostly see probably because of the technology. We all saw the the lower end, the 35 millimeter and the 16 millimeter. But I was like, where did they get this 70 millimeter? It's fantastic.
Yeah, there's loads of it, and they've been talking about it, and the archives are there, and because they're NASA archives, you can actually go and look at the footage and requisition the footage and use it yourself.
No kidding. Oh, you froze up, Mary Agnes.
Yes.
Oh, there you're back. You're back. All right.
Sorry.
Well, I think that's what they did because they requisite or whatever they did, but they got NASA to lend them the 70 millimeter and they digitized it and it looks fantastic. Those of you, therefore, who have not seen it and you have a chance, go out and look for the CNN film on Apollo 11. It's fantastic. There's no, did you realize that there's no commentary? It's just everything is the mission. That's it.
Yeah, it's just editing and soundtrack. I thought that was amazing. I thought it was really great that they didn't do interviews and voiceovers because so many of the people involved have passed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, so the trivia comes in. What connections with the ukulele does the Apollo 11 mission have? I'm assuming Gerald is going to pass.
No, I'm not going to pass.
Oh, go for
Come
it.
on, don't assume this stuff.
Well, you didn't know it was a 50th anniversary.
Well, but I have a brain. I could think ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
Okay.
Well,
did you Google? Did you Google?
No, I didn't Google. I'm just using my natural wit. Okay.
Okay. All right. Go for it.
Okay. The big question about the space missions and how it relates to the ukulele is obvious.
Okay.
People say, when the astronauts went into space, did they use high G or low G?
No.
No. You know what they used?
What?
0 G.
Oh. What? Okay, that was good.
That was good.
That was good.
I've told that joke before. That didn't come off the top of my head. Okay, go
ahead. Okay.
Carry on.
All right. No, I'm gonna steal that one. I have a gig coming up. I'm gonna steal that. All right, Mary Agnes.
If you use that joke, you have to give me 11 cents every time you use
the royalties.
Yes.
Excellent.
Right.
I think for me it's got to be that really famous picture of Neil Armstrong in quarantine. He had the ukulele with him in quarantine for those 18 days.
Ding, 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 ding. Look at this. This is I want her on my trivia team. Okay.
I only remember it because he's cute in that picture.
He is like it's like, wow, he's really getting into it. It's like he was posing or something. But yeah, he played the ukulele. And I heard the favorite song was Fly Me to the Moon. Okay, actually it was, they played Fly Me to the Moon several times. But yeah, what other connection to Hawaii? Oops, I gave it away. Darn it. Okay, the other connection is they landed off the coast of Hawaii and the ship that came to pick them up came from Pearl Harbor, and then they brought them back to Honolulu, and then they immediately, that famous Airstream, right? You see them all in quarantine, and then they loaded it up into a plane and they flew them over to Texas, but it was from Honolulu, so it was a military flight from there. It's very cool. If you watch the film, go ahead.
Did they get to spend any time in Hawaii?
No, they didn't.
And
they literally just the only time they spent was the Airstream was being transported from the aircraft carrier, wherever it was, to the base where they flew the plane off, because they couldn't take the plane. They couldn't take off from the aircraft carrier, but they drove them over there to the airport and then the air base, and then they flew them to Texas, which is like...
They didn't get to...
Go ahead.
No, so they didn't get to set foot in Hawaii because they were in that airstream for the quarantine.
Yes. Yeah, that was wasn't
so
that terrible?
cruel.
It's like they stuffed them into the airstream, and that's where they stayed for like over 2 weeks or something. And so the only thing they saw of Hawaii was out of the airstream as everyone was waving at them as they went by. So yeah, that's very cool.
They looked at a military tarmac.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all they saw.
Well,
No, I think they had a brief glimpse of people in Hawaii waving at them as they were being driven to the air base. So, all right, that's the trivia. So congratulations, and it's a great, what's really cool about it is that, they really emphasize that it was a mission for all of humankind, not just for America or one particular country or interest. It really did. If you look at what they left and what they talked about, I was amazed at how much they just said, this is really for all of the earth, not just for the America. All right. Okay. Whew. So let's get into this. Let's talk a little bit then about the award. So did we talk with you before or after you got the award? Or not you particularly, but Gnuff.
It was before, because it was before I had a chance to embarrass myself in front of Prince Andrew.
Oh, nice. Oh no.
You mean at this ceremony you actually saw the royal family?
Well, with the Queen's Award, we saw them, but at a distance. But with the Duke of York Community Initiative Award, which is the one we got this year, we were at, they took us to a military base in Yorkshire, and he is the Duke of York, Andrew, who married Fergie. Right. And he, so he was there, he presented it, and then came around and talked to each of the groups and gave us enough time to put our feet in our mouth.
Cool.
Oh, the royals probably get that a lot. I bet, especially if you haven't met them before. They're like, wow. Do you want to recount that? Is it a good story, or do you just want to, is there footage?
It was trivial. He kind of caught my accent and he said, well, that doesn't sound like a Yorkshire accent. And I said, no, I'm the result of those citizenship tests. Yes, and it was as absurd as it sounds. And he literally turned around. He did that thing where you laugh and you turn around and you walk away, and then you turn and you come back with the incredulous look, unable to speak.
No, I think that was a win. I think that was a win.
Yeah.
Come on, you made Prince Andrew laugh.
You didn't put your foot in your mouth. That was very intelligent.
That was
you were great.
You're fantastic.
I mean, that's definitely going on your life resume.
I know it would.
Well, he clearly remembered it, because later that evening on his own Twitter feed, the one picture they posted for the day was him posing with me, handing us the awards. Aww. So he remembered the crazy American lady in the lemon dress.
That's fantastic.
I lost it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think that was
I can't hear a word
great.
you're saying, both you guys. I lost it again.
It went out again. Oh no. I hope this isn't. We had this problem. If you listen to the one with Victoria Vox, we had this problem. She couldn't hear anyone else. But I don't know. Gerald's audio has been going on, so I'm hoping it's on his end, not our end. Okay. Let's see. Since he's having trouble with the audio, I'm going to continue on here. Latest trends. Anything else at the award you want to give? Because that was the best story. I don't know if you can top that.
I don't really think I can. Oh, I will say though, there were 55 recipients of the award, and they were all community groups. But what was amazing about it, because it's one of the awards that we've received that has nothing to do with the ukulele world, we were selected to receive the award.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm back. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Welcome back. But we were among people who ran community groups. So there was a group in Sheffield who volunteer their time and resources to help homeless young men basically learn interviewing skills, and they give them suits and they help them prepare for job interviews to get work. And we met a lot of groups who volunteer with hospices or end-of-life care. We met a number of groups who work with people with dementia, and the range of people and the kinds of things that they were doing in their community or communities was fantastic. And it was really humbling to be like, well, we have a ukulele festival. You know, when
Yeah, I think it's that's first of all, it's awesome that they recognize bless you, all of these volunteers in the wide variety of things that they do. And I think it's fantastic that the ukulele festival is recognized for, I think it really brings together people and it brings a lot of joy. There is something about that that is so wonderful that, you guys are sold out of your early bird tickets already. And you're probably well on your way to selling out the other festival, which the whole festival, which I'm curious, like, what is the early bird? Is that just a discounted ticket?
the early birds are discounted tickets, but they also you book them not knowing who's performing, so they're booked completely sight unseen.
Okay.
And
Wow,
then
that's great.
and we also anytime there's a big announcement, we let our early birds know first, so we have an email
Okay,
blast to
yeah.
them. So when we had Jake and we announced his
Oh,
workshop,
that
they
would have
found
been
out.
that would be like, oh, I hit the lottery. Woo. No, he's a great guy. So yeah, he was
Yeah,
there last
yeah.
time, right? At that this past year, right?
He was.
Yeah.
That's where we got him singing Wagon Wheel in a bar.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I didn't look at that video. I should have. I saw that picture, but I didn't know he was singing Wagon Wheel. He doesn't sing.
He
He
was
actually
singing at the
sang.
top of his lungs.
Wow. I've never heard him sing. You did something very cool there. All right. Okay. So let's get on to the first topic. So, I mean, like, we're 15 minutes in only on the first topic. What are the latest trends at the ukulele festivals? And I like to do this. I've done this several times, and I love to hear how things have changed over the years. Like, one of the trends that I've heard is that, people want more than just the beginner. It used to be emphasizing just the beginning ukulele types of things, and then it started to morph into I'm going to call it kitchen sink, where people were stuffing so much into it. And then people are like, well, yeah, that we need to focus it. And now they're thinking of things like, well, do I make this into a series and things like that? So I don't want to suppose too much. What what trends do you guys see in your experience, both as attendee and organizer?
I see the level of musicianship just being higher than it was
Okay.
15 years ago. Or
You're a
14
little
years ago.
soft. You're a little soft,
How's
Jero.
that? Can you hear that?
Yeah, you're getting better. I don't know what happened there.
Let's
You
see
were
now. How's that?
Yeah, you're still a little soft. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, we can hear you. It's just, did you switch the mic maybe
No. Let's see. That's a microphone. Voice. How's that? Is that better?
Nominally. Yeah, go ahead. We'll go with it. I can
Okay.
I can compress you.
Okay.
There you go. Well, that
Okay.
was good. Oh,
Well,
there you go.
now I'm really up on the mic. But anyway,
Okay,
one
there you
thing
go.
saying, yeah, the level of musicianship in among the attendees is much higher than it was back in 2005 when I started doing these festivals. The stuff I teach my students, they get it immediately. I mean, so people are getting much better on their instruments. I've noticed that, which is making the teachers have to come up with better and smarter workshop materials.
Oh, very good.
One thing I've been doing is I've been holding. I didn't give this title to. I didn't say it, but I'm proud of it. I've been holding master classes.
Yes.
Where what it is, people, instead of having people show up and you give them a sheet of paper and say, put your finger on the third fret now, make this chord, make a D chord. Instead of doing that and telling people where to put their fingers, the class will be organized around a song. For example, I'll do a class in Sweet Georgia Brown, where I'll play the song through and I'll show slowly how I improvise on that and how I use different chords, and people can stop me at any time and say, what is that chord?
Okay.
And or how do you go from this chord to that chord? Because seeing it happen that way, I think it sinks in a lot better than the tab.
Okay, so that is a neat new trend.
And let's see, what else do I see as a new trend?
Yeah. Well, let's explore
let me
that.
let me think about it for a while. Let Mary Agnes pop in here.
Okay.
Well, I think you're right about master classes. I've kind of noticed in the UK, people don't do workshops at quite the same level as they do in the States. Like festivals are built around workshops in a slightly bigger way, or workshops take a bigger part of the festival time. So people will leave a concert to go to a workshop in the States, but they would never do that here in the UK. And in the last few years, people have certainly wanted more workshops and more from them. And we've seen that same increase in musicality. And I don't know where it came from, but we started running master classes and calling them that this year. And one of the things I noticed, which was interesting, was that people's expectations for what a master class is varied incredibly widely.
Okay.
And that was interesting. So there were some people who sat next to each other at the same master class and had completely different experiences, either loving what they experienced or wishing they'd experienced something else. And because I'm an academic and I teach in the School of Media, Film and Music at Sussex Uni.
Oh, perfect.
So I started speaking to my colleagues about the actual history of the master class. And if you're going to be really rigid about the history of the master class, it isn't as participatory, I think, as some people might like, or as some master classes that people give. And it made me realize that I think that the word master class is really useful. I think that there's some work to do for us here in the UK around what people expect from them. But Gerald is absolutely right. What I think you have to do is set the terminology aside and accept that there's a higher level of musicality and there's more interest in kind of digging deeper or pushing themselves on the part of the festival goers. And that has been really fantastic to see. And we're seeing it not just in terms of playing. So we're seeing it in terms of the singing, for example.
Oh, really?
We've had loads of requests for singing workshops.
No kidding.
Yeah. And also participatory things. So
that
getting up on
I can
stage.
see. Yeah. I can see, like, I don't know if they don't call it a master class, but Danielle Anderson and Victor and Penny, aka Aaron and Jeff, hold a class where it's all about performing. And it's not unique, but I love the format they've chosen, and they do a really good job. And by the way, Gerald, you guys both kind of reminded me, I think Gerald may have experienced this, but in Hawaii, the way they used to teach the younger generation was, quote, a master class. And what you did was the older experienced master would sit around and jam the kanikapila, and he wouldn't answer questions. He would specifically tell you, don't talk, just listen. And that's how you learned. So many of the incredible ukulele and slack key guitar players from Hawaii, that's how they learned. And that's evolving now, where the newer generation are more allowing a participatory, conversation, dialogue.
I mean, but that's a very romantic idea of teaching, where you have this master who bestows their knowledge upon the children. But that's really kind of hard to find in 2019 in Cleveland, Ohio.
No, but besides that, I don't know if it'd go over very well. I mean, the guys who learned that way, I was like, how did you learn? Because if you couldn't ask questions, all you can do is watch the guy and listen and go, what the heck did he just do? I was like, no, I don't think that's a romantic thing. That must have been a lot harder.
But if they're sitting around, I don't know, if they're sitting around in their village, and this is almost a rural kind of thing, and the master is talking and the students are at their feet, I sincerely doubt that the master is being paid. When at a music festival, people are paying money to come to the music festival to be entertained and to learn something. They want to get something for their money. So if you hold a master class at a music festival, then you have to be open for questions, and you have to be open.
I totally agree with you on that. I'm just saying that the master class back in the day, when they didn't have formal schools and things, and some of these things were in danger of being lost.
Oh yeah, but
go ahead.
It's like that for all folk instruments. You hear stories about how people learned how to play folk songs on the banjo or the fiddle back in the night, and they
Yeah.
that's how they were taught. They
Yeah.
didn't go to Juilliard to learn how to play old Joe Clark.
Yeah, I think they do now, though. I think they
Yeah,
go to Berkeley.
variations on old Joe Clark. We'll do it in B flat this time. Okay.
All right. Okay. So masterclass. Let's see. What were the most? Let's start off with you, Mary Agnes. What was the most novel or interesting workshop, new ones that you saw recently? It doesn't have to be this year.
Well, non-ukulele workshops like the photography workshops have been great.
Wait a minute. This was at Gnuff?
Yeah, we started doing at least one or two every year that have nothing to do with the ukulele, but have
Oh,
to do
cool.
with the festival or with being a performer. So
Yeah.
our festival photographer James Miller does photo workshops where he basically teaches the like down and dirty quick principles of kind of journalistic and documentary photography.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And
I would love that because I suck at this social media thing.
Well, that's
yeah.
good. That's really good that your festival is doing that, because so many people are putting out YouTube videos now, and if they just got a couple tips from a pro how to make their videos look more professional, or at least please get closer to the microphone, telling them
Yeah.
something like that, that would be wonderful.
I know it's hard. And I think the people who are really taking it seriously, they really dig in, and I don't know, there is technology so available nowadays, and it's so easy to get. And then some people just forget the easiest thing, like, I have lighting here. That's what I use, right? And that's like it cost me $40 to put a light in there, and it makes a night and day difference. And so I finally did that, and yeah, I think that's brilliant to do that.
So what other workshops besides the photography, non-ukes workshops were you doing?
Well, we've done a lot of we do make your own instrument, and sometimes we did a lap steel guitar.
Oh, come, lap steel, really?
Yeah,
Look at you.
So, that we did the year after the town flooded here in Hebden Bridge. The one of the pubs in the center of town, which was a community hub, they had to take the bar out and completely refit it. So they gave the bar top to Rob. It was this vintage mahogany. And so he turned that into the bodies for the make your own instruments.
Oh,
And
you're
it's like
kidding.
kits that he brings in, and you're kind of putting it together, and
Yeah.
he's talking you through the history of it. And so Crabbers has one of those, and Les from Chunk and Feckle. They made those in the workshop. Phil Dolman, George Bartle.
Yeah. We just had George and Opera Lele, basically. What's Marnie? Mandy. Sorry, Mandy. Yeah. Oh wow, that is a great idea. Is to do and the connection to Hawaii, because lap steel is from Hawaii, basically. They invented that. And it's great to hear that you guys repurposed things so that you could make these instruments. Wow, I wish we could do that at the HSGA sometime. I don't know. What do you think, Gerald? Where are we going to get an old bar that we can cut up and make into lap steels?
Well, you can make a lap steel out of a 2x4. I really don't think you need endangered wood to make a lap steel.
No, you don't have to. It just looks nicer. But yeah, it
does look nicer.
All right. So Gerald, what about you? What have you seen that you?
Just this conversation has brought up an idea for a workshop that someone might want to do. Maybe I'll do it. Ukulele technology. There are so many tools available on the internet now and with your cell phone that will make you a better musician and will help you play. There's numerous free recording apps you can get for your phone that are much better than the recording app that comes with your phone.
Right.
There are so there's recording apps. There's accompanying apps such as iReal. It's called iReal Pro, and
is that the looping one?
It's the looping one. It's one with you could put in chord progressions and you could play the. It's like an accompaniment
Oh,
tool.
cool.
I would never perform with it, but if you're
Right.
if you're trying to learn a song, this will be your backup band all day long.
Well,
You just put it on loop and
yeah,
so
if I wanted to create a loop and I just wanted to compose a song, that would be wonderful too.
it's a wonderful tool,
Yeah.
and so there's all of this software out there that
Right.
whenever I pull out any of these pieces of software in one of my workshops, people always want to talk about it. They want to know.
There you go.
And I assume that everyone knows about it, and they
Right.
don't.
No,
So
if you don't, because a lot of people, they're either casual or they're not into the technology, and if if you're the one that has done it, and especially if it's like you're not a techno geek, because
right.
there's people who are there's a great guest I had on. His name is I think Chris Russell. So shout out to Chris. He's like a music teacher and he's very much into technology. And but I think if you are too good or too oh yeah, I just do this and that, people like eyes glaze over. But if you can bring it down to a practical level, I think that would be really the best thing.
Yeah, that's what many of these apps do. They just, you can get really complex with audio recording software or video recording software. But these apps on your phone, they just bring it down to just, you want to do this? Press this button.
Right.
So
that is the best.
And all these tools can really help people become better musicians.
There you go. Well, that sounds like a great one. Mary Agnes, have they done that yet enough? Or is the wheels turning now and you're going, yes, that's for next year now?
It's a really good idea. We haven't done much on tech, but we have definitely started doing more stuff about performance skills and kind of things to do to make yourself a better performer. So I think Gerald's right on the money about the need for a workshop like that. I think it'd be great.
And the other thing we talked about in past shows were I'm not talking about well, maybe I'll share. Let's wait on this. Okay, so remind me to talk about the ukulele festival cooperatives idea. Maybe we can expand on that. But what about continuing education, like the Jehui, the James Hill? Where he's has a series of educational not workshops, but they're kind of like you take them here and here and here, and then you kind of progress to, at the end you get certified. I'm wondering, is you guys like have well, from your academic background, how would that kind of translate? Was there anything there, or is it at the ukulele festival, let's just keep it more or less self-contained? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what I'm talking about is you've got a 6 or 12 session certification program, but it's not all at once, because hardly anyone is going to be able to take whatever, 3-4 weeks off just to get certified. So what they do is they break it up. And so, once or twice a year, whatever it is, they get together, and then over time you become a certified ukulele teacher, let's say. I think that's what you get. I don't know how that would relate to a ukulele festival per se.
Well, Doug Reynolds is kind of, when he had Peter Luongo at, I don't know if it was Palm Springs or Reno or both. Peter was doing that. That's how Peter launched his Luongo ukulele ensemble, the adult one.
Okay, yeah,
and that does. I don't think that ends in certification, but they definitely are. Like they're the performing ukulele band that Peter just took to Hawaii, I believe.
Could be. I think I've heard that they there. Yeah, that would be good too. Is where you it's not necessarily a certification, but it's kind of like you come to these different performances, and then you get you get trained onto how to perform, and then you perform with this group when they go over to Hawaii or whatever. That would be fantastic too. Yeah, good. I like it. Okay, anything else before we get on to our next topic? Oh, the other thing, I just saw this, music therapy too is becoming fairly popular, or I shouldn't say popular, but I think it's becoming more and more, useful or used in places. Not that
Yeah.
it hasn't been, but I think that's a good thing to
Yeah.
do.
I have a couple of friends who are music therapists, and one of them here in town. I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. One of them, he works at the University of Michigan Hospital,
Oh,
and
neat. Hmm.
and he is on salary at the University of Michigan Hospital. He doesn't put out a tip jar, you know.
That's nice. That's good.
Yeah. So, and what his job is, he's a music therapist, and he'll go to people's their patients' rooms, and and he'll talk to them and play songs for them or get them to sing along.
Oh,
It's
cool.
all. He doesn't force himself on these people.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
patients want nothing to do with it, but for the people who do and welcome it, that's his job 5 days a week.
That's cool. Well, yeah, and they have the Ukulele Kids Club where the kids who want to, they get all kinds of ukuleles either purchased or purchased or donated, and they give them to the kids who want to play music, and then they use that as a music therapy type of thing. And I think that's wonderful. Especially, I think it's focused. Don't they have a Ukulele Kids Club in the UK also? I can't remember.
They do. It's basically just British people who kind of want to support the same thing. So it's smaller, but it's doing the same thing. They work really closely with Southern Ukulele Store to
Okay.
get ukes into the hands of kids and other people in the hospital.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Let's move on to so yeah, let's talk about the idea of coordinating. Like there's so many ukulele festivals, especially in the UK. Not so many in Ireland. I think there's only one or two major ones in Ireland, but still that's close enough. To be able to then coordinate. You guys ever tried to coordinate together? Because especially when you're bringing someone from the not the mainland, but the US over or for somewhere far away, right?
We do a lot of that. I mean, when we started Gnuff, that was one of the reasons we started it. And the Cheltenham Festival, which isn't around anymore, but was the first really big British festival, the organizers of Cheltenham helped us get started. They shared information with us. They shared contacts for their work visa agents and stuff like that. And whenever people come to us and ask for advice or to collaborate, whenever we've been able to, we've tried to really help them out. I think you get two kinds of festival organizers. You get some who are collaborative, and you get some who are really competitive.
Right. Right.
And we're a voluntary team, so the latter, the more competitive ones, I'm not as interested in helping out if they're going to be profiting from something when I'm giving all of my free time to it. That's a personal decision.
Right. No, that's fair.
But we do, like, this next year. We haven't announced him yet. Although if you're smart, you can see we're having Aaron Keim and Nicole Keim back again next year.
Great.
But we're actually splitting the cost of it with Matt Stead of the Uke Room. So Matt's bringing Aaron and Nicole in to do a kind of multi-day retreat.
Oh,
and then
great.
they'll
Yeah,
come over to
perfect.
Gnuff. And we've done that before with Katie Vernon. In fact, the very last Cheltenham Festival, we brought Katie in, and Cheltenham helped us split the cost to get her over, and she performed at both Cheltenham and at our festival.
Right.
And Tony Boland, who runs the Ukulele Huli in Ireland, has been great at giving us advice and kind of connections, and really, and also acting as a sounding board for us when we first started out. They had been going for 4 or 5 years when we started. But I mean, a more joined up way of, or more organized cooperative could certainly be a really positive thing. I have certainly stopped. I used to think I would try to organize that on top of everything else, but I've stopped trying to do that because I feel I can do my full-time job, and I can be the stepmom to our awesome teenagers and a wife and run Gnuff. And then at that point, I think I'm out of time.
Yeah, you can always delegate. Although I do think that it's a great idea. So for the U.S. festivals, it may not be as big a need.
Well,
although I still think it would be really good to share kind of some of that. Go ahead, Gerald.
I am the musical coordinator for the Ashokan Festival. That's held in New York State on Memorial Day weekend, and our biggest costs is transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the performers to our festival.
Yeah.
Flying someone in from the West Coast, flying 4 people in from the West Coast round trip.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can work out a deal with another festival where we split the cost of the
Yeah.
airfare for those people that other festival is far enough away from us that they could travel by car, but they're far enough away that we don't infringe on each other's audiences.
Oh yeah.
Then that would be a wonderful thing to do.
Oh yeah, and it really is economical in terms of if it's just a stopover, quote unquote, where that's not your final destination. They will definitely give you a great round trip ticket price. So they could stop off in Denver, fly over to Ann Arbor, go to New York,
Right.
not New York, or down the coast, and then back to Los Angeles, and it's still one round trip ticket.
Yeah, I'm sure many arts organizations collaborate like this.
Yeah, that would be good. I don't know. I should grab the Denver Ukulele Festival. I don't know if they do that or not.
Especially that's the biggest cost. The biggest cost is
Yeah.
flying the people in, because once you
Right.
get the performers at the festival, you give them $15 for the weekend, and they're happy.
I'm doing it all wrong.
And Gerald should know. He
Right.
goes all over the place and performs. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you can afford that stick of gum. I know what you're talking about. So we talked a little bit about I'm moving on to a different topic now. So I think we've done the good enough on the ukulele festivals. Let's talk a little bit about equipment and gadgets and Mary Agnes, if you're not that into it, that's okay. But if you do have some ideas, there's definitely like gadget ukulele pairs, and I put myself in that category. And there's others that are like, I just want to play and I want it to work. Hope Dunbar is a great musician, songwriter, and she could care less. I don't know. She wants to sound good, I'm sure, but it's like, yeah, they told me what to do, and I had to pick up and start it. LR Bigs or Bags, she was saying. Like, so I think it's an LR Bags, and it's a really good one. So you're lucky. Anyway, let's talk about first of all, Gerald, do you have a capo recommendation?
Yeah, I do have a capo.
Excellent.
I'm sitting in my studio right now, and I just pulled down the capo, as a matter of fact.
What's the brand and what's it called?
Am I allowed to do this legally on the air?
Oh, absolutely, because I don't have any sponsorship.
This isn't like the Hatch Act violation or anything.
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
YouTube will, if they're unhappy, they'll bring it down, but I doubt they're gonna be unhappy about this. So go ahead.
So what I use for a capo? Yes,
Mhm.
I use a capo.
I know.
That's a whole different conversation.
It is.
Right now. So what I use for a capo is made by either the Diodario company or Planet Waves. They're the same company, Diodario and Planet Waves, and they make a ukulele / mandolin capo, and it's made out of Air Force grade aluminum, so it weighs nothing, and it clamps down on your neck, your ukulele neck. I mean,
cool.
And clamps down on, and it's lightweight, it's small. And I think it's like $10 to $15.
Problem solved, because I'm into Planet Waves. I didn't know that Diodario had brought them, and
don't quote me on that. I've always assumed that. So
I don't know. It could be. I mean, there's so many of these are subsumed into each other. Okay, good enough. Capo, problem solved. What other what other gadgets have you been, since you were speaking of the iReel?
Those are all, that's software. When you
that's
say
fine. I mean everything, software, hardware, whatever you want.
Well, one thing I've noticed, a lot of the performers now, the ukulele performers, are starting to use pedals, and they chorus pedals, wah-wah pedal, not so much wah-wah, but chorus, distortion, all these things, and they actually travel with a pedal box.
And
what
kind?
For people who don't know what pedals are, imagine when you're working on a sewing machine. Yeah, a lot of people know what a sewing machine is nowadays. But anyway, you're working on a sewing machine and you step on your little foot pedal to make it go faster or slower. But anyway, so these are electronic pedals which make sounds. They will take your sound and put a little chorus. They'll double it. They'll put some reverb on it. They'll put so I'm noticing a lot of ukulele players are now traveling with pedal boxes. and they're playing.
I showed this last time on the show. So I made a do-it-yourself overdrive pedal.
Really?
Yeah, and that's the Silver Surfer. And I know that Mary Agnes kids would pick up on this because.
Yep.
Did you do the artwork as well?
Well, Jack Kirby did the artwork, and
Mhm.
I put it on a decal, and I put it on there, and had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, so I didn't know that that's becoming a trend.
I'm sorry to see that at festivals, and what was so funny about that? I'm starting to see it at festivals with people traveling with these things.
No, I can, yeah.
And also, I'm
I thought you said I'm sorry to see that.
no, I'm starting to.
Okay.
This is that cheap microphone you gave me. Okay, I'm starting.
No, you sound good. It's my hearing. I really do. It's going out. Okay, so you're starting to see that. Yeah.
Also, I noticed that people are not looping as much as they were.
Yeah, interesting.
A couple years ago, everyone was experimenting with looping and playing back over themselves and making loops. I'm starting to see that die out.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's a hard one to do. I mean, if you're not good at it, I mean, I think there's just going to be a few artists who are just really super good at that. Okay, well, that's interesting that that's dying out, because I'm just starting to get.
That's just what I've noticed, in my opinion. I could be totally wrong. Who knows?
Hey, you get to see a lot. Okay, let's jump over to Mary Agnes. Anything that you've seen that you want to mention? Maybe you've seen other artists bring.
Yeah, I think there's two things. I mean, the one thing I would say is I think if you're, whatever you're going to do as an artist, if you're going to bring kit with you, like pedals or a looping board or whatever, you need to really be sure that you know how it works. We get a lot of artists of varying degrees of experience who will have batteries die on pedal boards.
Oh, yeah.
Or they'll bring a pedal board in from another country and they don't have the right adapters, or it needs a step-down transformer and they've not thought about that. So I think you need to know your tech if you're going to use the tech.
That's a really good point. All right. Hey, all you musicians out there, especially they think, oh, I'm going to England. Everyone uses electricity, don't they? Come over here and it goes, wow, this is weird that the plug doesn't work here. And
why is it sizzling?
It's just part of your. If you're a traveling musician, it's just be part of your maintenance. You check all your batteries before you leave home.
Absolutely, and you check what country you're going to, and then you bring the right ACE power adapter with you. It is wow. Go ahead.
Well, or let us know. I think. I've started seeing artists putting together much more considered and much more just standard professional tech sheets for us.
Good. Yes.
And that I think is something that's really important for artists to think through in terms of really clearly communicating not just what you need in terms of lines in, lines out, but also who is going to be where on stage.
Yeah.
So especially at a big festival where you've got tight turns, the tech team knows before you get there, and they've got a record of it.
Right.
And the other thing, so this is a gadget. I'm noticing a lot of musicians bringing their own microphone, and specifically those like the vintage looking, really expensive microphones.
Oh, there's a one that what's it called? The horn, or actually, I think Aaron Kime might use one of those, but it's a really, really cool looking. Go ahead, Gerald.
Yeah, they're very cool looking. If you want to go for a certain look, they're great, but they're also high quality microphones.
Yeah, and they are, and they're very sensitive too. That's the other thing, is that you got to know how to use it. Like if it's an omnidirectional one, it's going to be hard to use.
I think that that's where I think again it's about knowing your kit. So if you're going to bring a microphone in, you have to understand that the sound techs that you're working with are going to be handling it.
Yeah.
And Aaron is a really good example of that. So I've seen Aaron perform where he has decided not to pull his microphone out of its case because of whoever their crew was on the stage. And then in other years where he's been happy to bring it out. And I think if you're going to use a high quality, and these couple 100-pound microphones that people are bringing to our festival, I think you have to be aware of how it's going to get handled. And then, you do have to know how to use it. I've seen a couple of artists try to use different types of microphones because of the way they've seen them used in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, or at another music festival, but not actually understand how that technique works.
Yeah, that would be hard.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, try it out in advance, and maybe not at a big festival. Maybe at a
Well,
smaller festival.
Open
and
mic
have
night.
Yeah, open
yeah,
mic night. There you go. There you.
and have good conversations. I mean, I think some of our artists who are bringing tech, even if they're newer or just experimenting with tech, and Crabbers is a great example of this, will stay behind and talk to the sound people about what the
Hmm.
sound was like and what, and especially crucially after sound check, but before when they go on the main stage, so they understand what, if anything, they need to do to
Right.
get the best out of their performance, and it's a
Absolutely.
two-way discussion.
Right. Right.
And
Here's
I'm going.
here's a pro tip. Be really nice to your sound guy. Because they can make or break you. And I love having Brian over at the Denver Ukulele Festival. We've worked with him for years, and we've been in tight situations where, especially when especially now that I'm trying to do this with a live broadcast, it's so good to have someone that you work with closely, and he understands you and you understand him, and know the terminology, and yeah, tip your sound man.
But your sound man, even if you're a jerk to the sound man is not going to make you sound bad, because if you sound bad on stage, everyone's going to turn around and yell at the sound man.
I
Yeah.
don't know about that. Well, maybe. I don't
You know?
know. But
So
yeah.
it's up to you as a human to be a decent human to everyone, including the sound man.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like the idea of doing certain things, like I think it's called a stage plot, which is really helpful for the whoever's running the sound and the festival, where you say, I need a 3-prong 20 amp outlet here, and we're going to have a DI here, and a XLR here, and that kind of thing. So I think that'd be a kind of an interesting thing too, if maybe for a workshop, is, hey, anyone considering, because I think more and more people are considering being performers, that, hey, let's show you some things that'll make it easier on you and easier on the sound man and whoever is doing the show, right?
Yeah, but I also think that if you are a performer, yeah, you should have, and you're a professional performer, or you're hoping to be a professional performer, you need a detailed sound, stage plot.
Yeah,
You could send ahead to
exactly.
but at the same time, you got to roll with the punches.
Mm.
Some of your gigs, they're not going to have that microphone, or they're not going to have that specific DI. They're
Exactly.
going to have some cheap microphone that's going through a boombox. And so you have to be a professional and say, okay, what can I do with this, and how can
Yeah.
I get my best performance in sound using this inferior equipment?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a big field, okay?
No, you will get those gigs where, you got to deal with the hand that you're dealt. You got
Yeah,
to play with the
but
hand
then
you're dealt, and
but
just make the best of it.
most festivals have a professional sound system with people who know how to use it.
Right. Yeah. I think all the major festivals that I know of um would probably have
I
the
once
right
pla
equipment.
I once played in an ice rink.
Oh,
It was the
nice.
grand opening of an ice rink, and what they did is they took a rubber mat and they stuck it out in the middle of the ice, and they took a microphone, and a single microphone, and not even a good microphone, the kind of microphone that your principal would talk to you on in junior high school.
Wah,
And
wah, wah, wah,
and
wah,
and
wah.
they didn't even have speakers. They had these metal horns, which sound great when you're skating. But
Right.
they
Like,
hired me for money, so I had to perform.
yeah,
The
absolutely.
show must go on, and I went out there and I played in the ice rink, and
Nice.
I
Oh,
mean,
that's
it
great.
had a certain charm to it, but
Right. Right. They were playing you through the speakers that they have on MASH. Is that what the ones,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, let's kind of transition into instruments now. I've been by the way, we're talking a little bit about this bass player named Milo Fultz, who is just fantastic. I don't know. Have you got a chance to play with him, Gerald?
Yes, a couple times over in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
the guy, he's a nice guy, friendly guy, fun to be with, but he also has chops.
Hmm.
He knows how to play the bass.
Yeah.
And he's I'm pretty sure he is conservator, what is it, college educated, music major.
Hmm.
He knows how to play all different types of music and
Wow.
them well, and he's fun to be with. So
Nice. Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. I've just heard him play. He was at the NAM 2019. He was playing with Calais Gamiao, and then I was just listening. I mean, Calais sounds fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But then I just kept going, wow, those bass lines are so just tight, and he's got a walking bass line, and then he took a bass solo, and it was just like he is just in the pocket. I mean, he was following along with all the changes, and it was just like, wow. I'm kind of getting lost. I'll talk about that later, because we do have a section coming up on how to jam with your bass player. But the reason that that came up was he and Calais were playing these Chinese-made Maoloa ukuleles. Are you guys familiar with that? Because they were like, looked like amazing instruments. I'm like, holy moly, these are coming out of China now?
no, never heard of it.
It looked like beyond even, it might have been one of those, I think in overseas, they're doing it using machining, just precise machining, but you still have to have someone to put it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's many of the musical instruments coming out of China today are incredible.
Hmm.
What can I say? I mean,
I haven't played any of them per se, but I'm just thinking, wow, I looked at this Mauna Loa. I'm going, I want that bass that Milo was playing, and it was a Maoloa. It's like, holy moly. Go ahead.
no, I've never heard of them, but I think many instrument companies nowadays, with manufacturing the way it is in China, it's possible for a company to come and go within 2 years. Where
I believe it.
they produce instruments for a couple of years, then they disappear, or they're bought up by another company, or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of competition, and the South Korea too seems to be producing these amazing instruments. There's this one instrument I just saw called a Schecter. I mean, they've been around. Schecter has been around for a
In the
long
guitar
time.
world, yeah, the guitar.
Yeah. And they have these Schecter C1 guitars that are made in South Korea that it was just like, what? It sounded amazing. It looked amazing. I'm going, what is wrong with this picture? And, and I mean, South Korea is like, wow, where are they coming out of? I don't know. Let's bring in Mary Agnes. Have you heard any of these from Asia, like some of these South Korean or Chinese ukuleles?
I mean, I've seen a lot of them going to the NAMM show on and off over the years, and have certainly noticed more of them coming up. I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head, that where I'm noticing like a really big increase in quality is where it's clear that they've built shops to machine them, so they're not relying on the cheap human labor to knock them out fastly, but they're relying on CNC machines and really solid templates. So stuff's coming out in a different kind of workflow.
Mm.
And I think Gerald's right as well. You've got, if you just think of the scale of production and growth that's happening across kind of the Southeast Asian peninsula or region in different spaces, I think I'm not surprised to see that. I mean, that's about, somebody was going to get there with a bass, or with a ukulele bass, or with a 5-string tenor at some point.
Right.
Yeah, because it's funny, in Liverpool there's a lot of ukulele bands, and they all also take part in. A lot of them take part in big ukulele jams, and every once in a while you'll notice that one of the ukulele jams, everyone's playing some Chinese instrument that didn't exist 2 years ago, and it was dirt cheap and it sounds good.
Yeah.
But what the Chinese instruments have done to the musical instrument world, and especially in the uke world, is you can get a really nice Chinese ukulele for $250 or $300. Okay, and you can get an okay Chinese ukulele for $125. Both will play a tune. The 251 might be a little bit better wood. So what that has done, that has educated or has taught the ukulele buying public that a moderate price instrument is $300, and if you really want to go expensive, you go up to 900, or you go up to 800. Now, that's not reality in the stringed instrument world. Take a look at the violin world. That's the violin world. You know, if you want to buy a decent violin, I don't know, you start at $10,000 and you go.
I don't know. I've never. That's a good point. I mean, you know, a good student ukulele is at $50, and that's really solid.
Who it's hurting are the luthiers, the custom ukulele builders.
I was wondering about that.
Because you get a custom guitar builder. The guitar players are accustomed to paying higher prices. So a custom made a luthier who makes custom guitars can easily charge $15,000 or $20,000 for their guitar because the market is used to paying that. A custom ukulele builder, if they say, well, I build custom ukuleles and they start at $3,000, the general population of ukulele players goes $3,000. You know,
right?
Because they're used to thinking that a $500 instrument is expensive, or a $600.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, full disclosure, my husband is a ukulele luthier. He's a full-time ukulele luthier.
Oh, I didn't know he was.
And he has been doing that as a full-time job for the better part of the decade. He's made
really?
like 500 ukuleles.
Wow.
Yeah, he trades his tinguitar.com, but he's Rob Collins.
And send me his link. I'll be glad to put it in there.
I will do. Yeah, but he has noticed that the ukulele world, as Gerald points out, is different to the mandolin world. So he also makes mandolins, travel mandolins primarily, and in the ukulele world, people not only are increasingly kind of expecting really low costs, but people seem to also expect, say, a really high-end gloss finish. For the cost of what would get you, like, I don't know, like a really low-end factory-made uke from somewhere. Not appreciating the amount of time and work that goes into that if you're not a big production line, or if you're doing it by hand.
Right. Yeah, if you hand.
It takes the same amount of time to build a guitar as it does a ukulele.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, the ukulele's smaller, that's going to take 45 minutes to build. No.
Yeah, you still have to cut out the body. It's the same. Yes. Yeah. No, I can see that, and I think that's the downside of the CNC world, I guess, is really what the manufacturing workflows that they're doing overseas there.
But it's great for the players. It's great for the people who they enjoy playing the ukulele. They want a decent sounding instrument,
right?
And they're not going to dedicate their lives to it. They enjoyed their Tuesday night ukulele club, and they like going to festivals. But they have other things in their lives,
right?
4,000, and maybe go up to 6 or 7.
Yeah, and it was the experience we miss out on in that respect, which I would if I just bought a Maoloa or whatever from China, is that I spoke with the luthier and we talked about what I wanted and why I wanted it and what he could do for me, right? And so I would say, I live in Colorado and it's really arid here, it's really dry. He goes, oh yeah, we're going to do something like spruce, okay? I went, spruce top, and and even then, by the way, the Kiave and spruce, it's still cracked because it's so dry, and I'm so terrible about putting in the humidifier. Anyway, but the point is that he sat down with me, he helped me out, he built it specifically for me and with the scale that I wanted, the size that I wanted, and we worked out the whys and wherefores, and so that's what you get when you do a custom instrument, so, and that is really valuable. All right, but associated with these ukuleles, I think one of the big things that we've mentioned on the show before is the setup, and there's a really cool video. If you've ever been to Hawaii, there's a cool site called the Ukulele site, Hawaii Music Supply, and a guy named Andrew Kitakis is one of the owners there, and wow, he does it right. And I think Mims Ukuleles does the same thing, but you can watch them. They take the standard factory made ukuleles, doesn't matter where it came from, could be a high-end Kamaka or Koaloa, but then they do the setup on there, or they take it down the shop, they sand it down, they do all that. What do you guys think? Is that something that people are missing out on? Where do you see that fitting in? And is Mims the one I'm thinking of? Let's start with
Yeah.
Mary Agnes.
Oh, Mary. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, so Mim sets up every uke that leaves her shop, and I don't know when, but I know that she decided that would be a kind of USP for her business. And that's because if you get a uke that's drop shipped with the best will in the world, it's been in a lot of different climates and different warehouses and on the road and things, and with the best will in the world, a lot of ukes, especially when you're coming out of a big production line, your frets might not be level. You might, your action might be a bit high because it's safer to ship it with a kind of higher action, and lots of things can kind of play into it. And I think that have witnessed Mim at ukulele festivals in the States. I've gone to a few. Just sit at a table all day and do uke setups for people and talk them through what the setup does.
Oh wow!
And
so she actually does that at festivals.
She does, and it's been really great to watch people who would not otherwise understand how action matters, how both the nut and the bridge play into the action on the uke. How, for example, if you go to a dry climate like yours, your fretboard after the uke has been played a bit, it might shrink, so then your fret edges might stick out, and you may need to dress the frets. And kind of, I think when people begin to understand that and that's, I think, also about understanding that your instrument is made of, it's made with these materials. It does help people. It fills some of that educational hole.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea to have like someone like Mim at a ukulele festival to help set up ukuleles as a part of the show. That's a really great educational thing.
But most high-end or boutique music stores will do that. If you buy from a reputable dealer, like for example, Elderly Instruments here in Michigan.
Yeah.
What their philosophy and their practice is that if you buy an instrument from them, it doesn't matter if it's a $20 instrument or a $200,000 instrument. Before they ship it to you, it goes down to the repair shop and they check it over quickly to see if it's playing well. And if anything needs to be corrected on it, they correct it. And that's basically a setup in a way. They do somewhat of a setup where you buy something online from some store you never heard of. They're basically just grabbing something out of a giant shipping container, putting your address on it and shipping it.
Right. Yeah. That's the downside about the Amazon.
And if you're not an educated consumer buying an instrument, say you live in the middle of nowhere, there's no ukulele festivals, there's no Tuesday night ukulele group, and you just want to play the ukulele, and this is a good price on Amazon, and they ship it to you. You don't know, you've never played an instrument before, you don't know why it hurts to push down the strings, and so you're gonna give up on the instrument because of that.
Right. And I think that is one of the things that this is be a great thing to do on the show here, is to educate people. It's like, when you buy that instrument off of Amazon, good on you. That's competition. That's consumer, free market. But find the local place that is really good, decent and fair. And I always mention, because I actually don't know a good place here in Fort Collins where you can just take it in and they'll do a good setup for you. I always say go down to the Denver Folklore Center, because I know they would do a good job and I know they'll help you out. And that's great to have.
But many times people are lured by the low price.
Oh yeah.
The instrument will be $250 on Amazon, but if you buy it from a reputable dealer, it's $265, or might be $15 or $20 more.
Yeah.
And the reason is because they're not selling you a bad instrument, and they're doing a checkup on it, and they're doing a setup.
Well,
and that money's well spent.
Exactly. And if people are willing to do it, it's like, you want to have your instrument set up, pay the money, go down to the Denver Folklore Center, and they'll do a once over. They'll make sure that the nut is properly filed down for the strings you want to use, and everything's even, and the frets are even, and whatever, And even if it's a cheap one, it'll be amazing. I believe how much better it'll sound if you have someone do a thorough setup on it. Just doing something simple as taking off the factory strings and putting on a good set of strings that someone recommends or you like, will be like you're getting a new ukulele.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else, guys? That's good stuff. Hey, we've been talking for quite a bit. I want to take a break just to mention what I'm doing this year, and then I want to talk about what you guys are doing. So first, I didn't talk to you, Gerald, about what you're doing. You've been pretty busy. You did the Ashokan. What's happening with you? And especially, you have any new music you want to tell us about?
Well, I just got back from the Durango Festival, the Rocky Mountain Ukulele Festival in Durango, Colorado. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
This is the time of year to be in Colorado.
It's beautiful over in Durango.
Our mutual friend, Chris Kennison, said, "Oh, you're going to be driving up from New Mexico? You have to drive the road from Silverton to Ouray. It's so beautiful." And so I said, "Oh, that's a great idea, Chris." And so we drove it. Oh my God. I mean, 3,000-foot drop-offs without a guardrail.
He didn't tell you about that. I was like,
and I got, I'm driving with my wife and she's going, "Oh, look over there." I can't look over there, because we'll both die, and we finally got to Ouray and
it's beautiful. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And we got there and I looked up this, it's called the Miracle Mile or the Miracle Road or something. I looked it up. It's rated as one of the most treacherous roads in the world.
Yeah, you don't go there in the winter. Don't go there in the winter. Oh, and there's this one, I think it's in the Ouray area, Silverton, Ouray, where several cars are still are still not picked up because it's so inaccessible. The people who've the cars have gone off the road. They just leave the car there.
And then you get the locals who go on your tail and they scream at you because you're not going fast enough.
Yeah, on those, and there's only one lane in some of those places. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So that was, I was really hoping to relax after the ukulele festival.
Your wife was probably thinking, "This is beautiful. Oh, yeah. Gerald, look over here. Look at the mountains.
Pull over. I want to take some pictures."
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, good. How about music? What's your latest CD?
My latest CD, I've got to put out a CD. I haven't had a CD out in a couple of years. I've got a lot of new material, but I don't
very cool.
But the thing is, people aren't buying CDs the way they used to.
Do you put them on CD Baby? Because they'll put them on to YouTube, not YouTube, but iTunes and all that good stuff.
But now people they're streaming everything through.
Right. No, that's the streaming stuff is. Yeah, you really have to really.
You have to be Lady Gaga to make money from streaming. Really.
I guess. Oh yeah, I know. I mean,
they'll say, "Oh, your song was streamed 300 times in the past week, and here's 12 cents."
Listen, Gerald, 12 cents is a lot. We got several thousand streams on some of our Book 'em Dano stuff, and we get what 12 cents or $1. It's like, this is crazy.
I mean, it's better than nothing,
I guess, sure. No. Okay. Well, when you have a new one out, please let us know. We definitely love to hear it. Mary Agnes, so you're taking a break from Gnuff. When did that happen, by the way? It just happened. Oh, May, of course, because we had on the same day of the Denver Uke Fest, and we were hoping you could make it. But you were hanging out with Jake. I mean, okay, I can understand that.
I was actually trying to get into his second gig on the same day.
Oh.
That was a challenge. Yeah, well, we have a Gnuff retreat in August. We bring together some of the core festival team, and we invite some kind of newer ukulele festival organizers from around the country and some performers to come together for our retreat and just talk about the festival. And so between now and then, I'll just take a break. I'm going to go on holiday with the family and then just read some books for a week or so. But then we've set ourselves 3 major tasks for the next year. One is about increasing access to our festival for people who are neurodiverse or gender diverse. We started work on that last year.
Cool.
The other is about, and that's not so that has included making spaces for, say, like queer and trans or just alternative performers to have a safe space in the festival and to come along.
Yeah.
But it's much more than that, and we're also working on physical accessibility. So making stages that have 2 steps up are a real problem for blind performers or performers in wheelchairs or others. So we're working on that, and then the other is just asking ourselves what does a ukulele festival look like as we move into the next
Yeah.
decade of this century? And I
Mhm.
don't know what the answer is going to be, but I raised all of the money for the festival next year early,
Cool.
so we don't have to stress about that, and it gives us a chance to really just start to look under the hood. And so what we'll be doing in early and mid-August is sitting in a room with a kind of disparate group of people with
Mm.
different needs and expectations of festivals, to ask what it could be or what it should be. And then we're going to continue asking those questions. So we're going to do a bit of a roadshow. We're going to take some of those same questions down to London to a group of people there. And then in September, Rob and I are going to go to the Lexington Uke Fest in Kentucky and ask some people there those same questions to see what different inflections
Great.
we get.
That is fantastic. It's like you guys are doing the cutting edge on ukulele festivals, and maybe you could start like opening it up, and people can fly in, and it'll be like a ukulele festival convention. You know, no, seriously. I mean, it sounds like you're well on the way. I think asking yourself these questions are really great, and I love that you're opening it up and trying to diversify things. Wow, I think that's really cutting edge stuff, and I guess maybe coming from I don't know, maybe the academic world, but that's awesome that you're considering all these things and doing the retreats. Good on you. Well, I just want to let everyone know that I appreciate my patrons and all the listeners, and I'm trying to raise the number, get the number of listeners up, and not because I want my numbers to reflect more listenership, which strokes the ego. That's great, but I really think that what we want to do is get more information out here, get more of these what we talk about. I know people, when they hear these things, they learn a lot, and they probably learn about new artists, which I wanted to thank Gerald, by the way. Gerald gave me the opera lele, and you guys, if you have other people in the ukulele world that you think should be on the show, definitely let me know. I definitely would consider people, and then if you want to give an introductory recommendation, say, hey, you should talk to Stuart. Oh, the other one that and by the way, I brought Opera Lele on, and then they recommended, I think it's Rob of World of Ukes. He does the Uke magazine in the
Matt
UK.
Warrens.
Matt. Okay, sorry, Matt. Anyway, he couldn't make it today, but we'll get him on next time. But yeah, love to have new people on here, mix it up, and get more information out there, because I want to really get more people, listenership up. I'm going to try different things, and support on Patreon. And Mary Agnes, thanks for continuing to be a patron there also. So thanks to everyone there for listening. Okay. Now we're on the last half or third half of the show, whatever you want to call it. Jamming with a bass and ukulele. I guess I was inspired by this question because I saw some Calais Gamiao and Milo Fultz, and I was just like, yeah, I love having a bass player with me. I just get lost sometimes when I'm improvising, and let's start off with Gerald. And what advice do you have about playing with a bass player, and maybe even improvising, especially, would be some good tips?
Let's see. When you play with a bass player, you've cut your workload in half, because you don't have to do everything, and you don't have to provide a solid mid-range and a solid bass and a solid treble type of sound, because the bass player takes care of all of that. So if you want, you can concentrate on the more higher pitched chord voicings on your instrument. So, but the thing is, bass and uke work so beautifully together because they don't step on each other's toes in terms of what sonic range they're in. The bass is taking care of all the low end, and the uke is taking care of part of the mid range and the high end. So you're not overlapping sounds. And so it's a much cleaner sound. Where maybe if you do a guitar and ukulele, it's a little closer and you tend to overlap a little bit.
Right.
Same, bass and ukulele is great, but you want to know one of my favorites is tuba and ukulele. No, don't laugh. Don't laugh.
That's not a joke?
No, it's not a joke.
No.
I mean, that tuba with that horn sound and a little bit of sustain and that roundness that it gets, and you put a ukulele on top, you can get these nice little ragtime type of sounds as a duo.
Okay.
And old time jazz, old New Orleans style jazz, you can't get that sound out of a bass that you can out of a tuba.
Huh.
So that's
all right. Okay,
that's a good starting point. How's that?
Right. What are your thoughts, Mary Agnes? Have you played with a bass player?
Yeah, and I think it's fantastic. What I think is interesting is looking at people that I know that play with bass players all the time, like Crabbers and the Hedge Inspectors, Jake, Shimabukuro, Sarah Mizella and Craig Chi often play with a bass player. In fact, sometimes Milo.
Yep.
I think that what's interesting is that they don't all go for the U bass. They'll play a Fender Precision. And they'll leave the choice of the bass up to the bass player. And I think that's about listening to the bass player, not just listening in terms of listening to them while they play, but playing with a bass player that as you say, Milo does. Like, they have the chops. You know that James Agg is a great bass player here in the UK, and he does lots of pickup sessions at ukulele festivals and with ukulele performers. And one of the things that he's good at is listening to other people. And the people who get the most out of playing with James, I think, are active listeners when they play. And it might be the hardest thing, but I've witnessed and I've seen some really interesting conversations where what you get in a performance is different than I think what people might have expected they were going to get before they started that collaboration. And that to me is fascinating. And I think that comment that Gerald made about thinking about the sonic range. So again, thinking about the tuba or other instruments that you might bring in, I think is a really positive thing. I would much rather listen to a tuba and a ukulele than I would 6 ukuleles.
Yes, and 6 ukuleles all playing the same chords, strumming exactly the same.
Right. Yeah.
But back to that. Well, that's a whole different tangent. I don't know if we should go there or not.
Probably not. No, ukulele groups are one thing. They're all playing together, and that's a lot of fun. What we're talking about here is different. It's a because you go and see the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain, right? And they're all playing ukuleles, but they have different ranges. They have different slots for them. And by the way, they do have a bass player.
Yes, and they do. And the bass player balances things out. But back to the Tuesday night ukulele groups that meet.
Yeah.
If you are all beginners, then you have to all play the same chords. It's part of a learning process. You're all strumming the same one finger C chord. Where as the group develops, then you can make your music sound so much more interesting by playing different types. The 3 people play that C chord, one finger C chord. 3 people play the C chord that's on the 7th fret in the G position or the G shape, and then all of a sudden, then you add a bass to it, and all of a sudden it becomes really full stereophonic music.
Yeah. People. I think that's the next thing. There's a new ukulele group that I'm helping along. I don't per se lead them, but I'll come in for once in a while and do workshops and things like that. I think the next step for them would be to have them experience a bass ukulele or bass guitar in there, and I think they'll be just blown away.
Well, one thing I've noticed with ukulele groups, as soon as you add a bass, all of a sudden everyone doesn't strum as hard.
Interesting.
And I think one of the reasons they might be strumming so hard is there's this human need for that low end in the sound, and maybe they're trying to achieve that by strumming hard. But as soon as that bass comes in, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
the music calms down a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing that a good bass player does is they'll keep them kind of bring them in time a little more, when they've got that beat that they can count on, they just lock in a lot easier. It's amazing. Good. See, and I think this is like the third or fourth show I've said, bass players, we need you.
And bass players always get work.
Exactly. That's the other thing I mentioned. Okay, let's wrap this up and talk about what's your favorite ukulele to recommend to beginners. It used to be, for example, at least spend $50. Can't go wrong with a Kala. That's what I used to say. I don't know if that's changed any. Mary Agnes, what do you think?
I used to recommend Kala, and now I recommend Ohana.
Ohana?
Yeah, I think their entry level ukes in the last few years have been really reliable.
Okay. Awesome. I've known about them, and I'm going to try them out now. Cool. Gerald, what?
I don't know. I haven't really been in touch with that segment of the market for the past couple of years, but I've always liked the Ohana instruments. I'll second Mary Agnes, and they do put out a good instrument, and
okay,
in all price ranges. I also like the new logo that they're starting to introduce.
Oh, is that right?
It's instead of saying Ohana across the top, it's like a very stylized O, and I think it looks very elegant.
Okay. I'm gonna check them out now a little closer. I've been aware of them for a while. Haven't really tried them out. I know that Kala still seems to be very big into the what do I want to say, the smartly they're donating quite a few instruments to schools and other institutions.
Kala is great with that. They are very good with outreach education.
Yes, outreach education, very good. Yes, and that goes a long way because people remember that, and when they go, oh, I want a ukulele, they go, well, Kala. I mean, that worked for me.
Just maybe a month ago, Doug Reynolds and Melinda Reynolds, they run the Reno Ukulele Festival.
Mm-hmm.
They were coming through Ann Arbor, so we met for lunch, and they told me, they said they parked their car right next to the library in downtown Ann Arbor. And they said, you've got a great library there. And I haven't been to the library in downtown in 20 years, and they say, you could check out guitars and ukuleles and basses and amplifiers. So I think maybe Kala's involved with that type of thing as well.
They are. You hit the nail on the head. They are involved a lot in these libraries. Who do we have on recently? But the library programs that they're putting together, not Kala specifically, but Kala participates in them, but just in general, these programs at libraries, I think, are fantastic, where they're, allowing you to check out things like ukuleles. I think that is wonderful. All kinds of instruments.
But also fly fishing rods, if you want to learn how to be a fly
Is that right?
Seriously.
That's
great.
Uh-oh. Mary Agnes dropped out. What happened? Oh.
Ooh. Transatlantic cable, I guess.
Hopefully she'll log back in, but I was just about to wrap up too. Oh, hopefully. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's wrap up, and hopefully she'll come back. The last question I had, and then we're going to end the show, is anyone that after I mentioned it that you would say, hey, yeah, bring this up and coming player or this person on the show. You were fantastic last time, Gerald. Any thoughts here?
Well, a couple of musicians, actually one musician I've met in Europe and another musician that I've just admired on the internet. Mary Agnes is back now.
Yay. Hey,
we're talking about who I would like to recommend, and chime in anytime you'd like, Mary Agnes,
to bring on the show.
A couple people from the European and UK ukulele world. I played a festival. I played the Czech Ukulele Festival last summer with Elizabeth Pfeiffer. Elizabeth is a really good instrumentalist. I don't think she sings. I think she is known as an instrumentalist around. And also Samantha Muir who I've never met, but I've really admired the stuff she's put out on the internet, some of the videos.
Okay.
They're both very good instrumentalists. So that's my recommendation for today.
Okay. Well, great. So Mary Agnes, and if you know any of them, Mary Agnes, and you want to give them a shout out to that, they want to get on the show, that'd be great. Who do you recommend?
Well, those guys are both great. I think if you've not had Robin Evans from the UK, you should seriously get him on board. He started branching out beyond the ukulele world, so opening for really big acts like Bob Log the Third and people from the kind of folk and blues world. And he's a really talented kind of up and coming performer. So Robin Evans, I think, would be a really great person to ask. And then down in Australia. He's called David McGarity.
David.
And he's been playing the uke for like a decade. He's one half of Tyrone and Leslie. And David McGarity is he's a performer and it works across kind of music and theater, and he's just fantastic. He's played at the Melbourne Festival loads of times and loads of the Australian and New Zealand festivals. I think David McGarity would be a really great person for you to consider getting on the show. And then the other thing is, I think Matt Warrens is a great recommendation, but if you can't, or even in addition to Matt, you might want to talk to Andy Webster, who is also in Matt's band, which is the League of Ukulele Gentlemen. And where Matt focuses primarily outside of the band on the magazine, Uke magazine.
Right.
Andy does loads of like community stuff. He's gotten really involved in the last few years with some of the really big folk festivals here in Europe. And he's just got a really dynamic energy. So I would recommend any of those guys.
Great. All right. Well, if I can't get a hold of them, I'll see if you have any contacts. Awesome. Well, I think we've been on the show for quite a bit. This has been wonderful having you both on back again. Have you ever been on? I guess. Mary Agnes, I would be remiss if I didn't pass this along. Aldrine says, "Hey, how do I get on to Gnuff?" I said, "I'll pass that along to Mary Agnes." So I feel like I have done my duty. Aldrine Guerrero has put in his request here. How's that?
I have to tell you that this year is different because I'm not making the decisions for booking, but I've got a list of performers that I'm putting to the group in August, and both Gerald Reed's names are on the list of performers that I want the team to consider and to try to find the space for.
Thank you very much.
So, I'd be really like transparent about that. We also we book over a 2-year cycle. So my goal this year is to really do what we always do, which is lock headliners for this year and next year with space to add more as we go along.
Good. I think that's a great strategy. All right. Well, thanks to both of you. Thank you, Gerald Ross. Go to geraldross.com and check him out. And Gnuff is northernuke.com. What is it, Mary Agnes?
Ooh. It is northernuke.com.
Oh, I look at it so much I forgot what it said. All right. Well, great. Thanks for for both of you being on there. It's been fantastic. I love having you guys on. We're going to have you back. And as we do on every show, when on 3, let's all say aloha. 1, 2, 3. Aloha. All right.